Hello again, everyone. Witch Doctor here, looking at the intraday markets, talking about the currencies, and looking at yesterday's action versus today's. As you can see, looking at the dashboard here, we got the dollar on the left and the yen, Swiss franc, and the Canadian across the top. You got the euro, the pound, and the Australian dollar all across the bottom. And the focal point here, of course, is what we look at the dollar index futures, taking a look at yesterday's price action versus today's. You can see here the high of yesterday. With this line, you got the low of, well, this is wrong here. Let me fix this real quick. But what I do is I identify yesterday's high and low. As you can see, moving yesterday's low, this line here to show me yesterday's low. And you can see here that the market was not able to trade. We made a lower high here. Okay, so we had a lower high here in the dollar index futures. You can see that the dollar index here, we had a high and then a lower high. And again, today's high lower than yesterday's high, which means that the bulls were not able to push the price. You know, that shows weakness on the bulls' part to push the market higher. Anyways, putting a high early in the session there. And bears basically showing their strength, taking the low down below yesterday's low. You can see the breakout here for 3 straight hours, trying to push the market to the downside, but the bulls basically stepped back in and you know, took the price back towards yesterday's close. Here you can see, okay, this isn't right either. But let's go here and identify yesterday's closing price, which is right about here. And basically right now the market looks like it's poised to close pretty close to yesterday's closing price. Okay, so again, this is kind of the nature of the markets, where throughout the day it tries to push in one direction, and if there's no strength, then you can see that the market has a kind of a recoiling effect, or a reaction in the opposite direction. So again, the market initially tried to push up towards yesterday's high, found the sellers, drove the market down through yesterday's low, but they were not able to sustain the move down below the previous session low, and the bulls smelled that, or should we say picked up on that clue, drove the price back towards yesterday's closing price. And right now we basically closed right around yesterday's close, which if you compare today's close to yesterday's close, it was an active day. And that's really what we're trying to establish here, is the fact that there was no trend, or at least the trend reset itself. You can see that it reset itself back towards the place where the bears are establishing their dominance. So now the question is whether or not the dollar, after resetting back to this trend line, is going to continue to move lower. We'll talk about that when we go look at the daily charts in the premium video. But of course, the Japanese yen here trying to break out of yesterday's high. Very nice move off of yesterday's low. There was a pretty decent trend line here that goes back a couple of days, and you can see the nice move that we had. Just broke out of yesterday's high, but right now closing back inside of yesterday's trading range, which is kind of the opposite of what the dollar did, but that's been the case for the yen. As for the Swiss franc, you can see just a choppy day inside the trading range of the previous session, moving sideways and not really able to break out of yesterday's low like the dollar did. But you can see here this trend line that's established that is similar to what the dollar had. So that's the one thing about the Swiss franc. You know, it mimics what the dollar is doing. You can see all these points there, and looking for the market to probably push lower as long as this trend line remains in force. You can see the Canadian dollar, though, the Canadian dollar pushing back below the big figure here and not able to hold that level. Very interesting. I thought that we'd actually find some you know, some activity here, and sure enough, you can see that we did push down below the previous session low here, but we never came back up and retested it for a throwback and then a push back down. So I'll be looking for that kind of a play later on today. We'll see how that happens. Euro inside day trading range, but trading up near the upper half of yesterday's trading range. You can see trying to stay above yesterday's closing price, but not able to move above yesterday's high. And basically telling you here, sideways consolidation, really no activity by the institutions, and therefore it's a scalping environment. Take a look at the pound here, same kind of activity, inside day trading range, trading practically sideways. When you look at the big picture in terms of yesterday's trading range, not really doing much in terms of moving in one direction or another, but we do have an upside bias, it appears. We did try to break out of yesterday's high, not able to sustain the move. And of course, later on after the London session closed, you can see the market basically pulling back and settling in. Your Australian dollar here not able to move outside of yesterday's trading range either, and essentially moving sideways. Tried to break out of yesterday's high twice, but failed. And then you can see the fake out move right here where it pushed out, came back, and then it started to use the previous session's high as resistance before selling off. And now it looks like I'll be looking for the market to let's see if this Australian dollar is running into selling. I'm kind of seeing some activity on the New Zealand that's kind of caught my attention. We'll talk a little bit more about the details in the premium video. For everybody else out there, that's all I got for this market wrap. Good luck with your trading. Stay safe out there. This is Witch Doctor signing off. Best regards to all, and we'll see you at the next market wrap.